Hey everyone, Rich Munroe here, Investing Group. Thanks for jumping on this week. As always, we kind of help investors navigate the short-term rental model, whether you're doing acquisitions, buying properties, or if you're doing leasing, as well as managing properties. So part of what we do, we talk to experienced investors and really kind of learn through their experiences, how they got started. And so I'm happy to have Heather Meuer on today to kind of talk about her experiences. Thanks so much for joining, Heather. If you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah, my husband and I, we are full-time real estate investors, specializing in short-term rentals. We own and manage some short-term rental properties as well as RV parks and mobile homes. So we started early 2022, we bought our very first property. It was a short-term rental here in Branson, Missouri. And that really got us started. So we bought our first property in January. We didn't even have it. We had to renovate that. And so before we even had that one launched, we bought our second one. And so now we have 7 that we own and manage, and then we have a mobile home and RV park. We're looking to expand in that area, and we are currently developing a glamping and RV resort here in Branson as well. So yes, it's an RV park and a campground, but we've got 17 glamping units as well. So that's basically adding on 17 more short-term rentals to our portfolio in the way that those are managed as well.
That's awesome. Very cool. And so when you got started with that first one, really, what was it that drove you to get started on? And did you know ahead of time that it was specifically going to be a short-term rental?
We did. Yeah. So previous to this, my husband and I, we owned an auto parts business, and we'd owned that with my parents for 16 years. And we knew that they were going to be retiring, and we knew we didn't want to continue on in the auto parts business, but we'd always been interested in real estate. And actually previous to us owning that, I was in property management. So and actually was born and raised in property management. My parents were property managers when I was born. So I guess it was in my blood, and I didn't realize it until later. But yeah, we knew that our time with that business was coming to an end, and we wanted to sell that business. And so kind of leading up to that, we knew we needed to pivot and start building another business. And again, we knew real estate was the way we wanted to go. So we had thought about a few different ways to do that, but really short-term rentals kept being the thing that we were interested in the most because of, the returns there, and because I love hospitality. And so with that, we really kind of went down that track. We actually, on the home that we owned and lived in, we renovated our basement. Actually, it was an unfinished basement. So we took that, we remodeled the basement or finished it out and added 1,900 square feet onto our home, and then did a cash out refi. This was when interest rates were 3 something. So we did a cash out refi, and we used that money to purchase our first short-term rental here in Branson, Missouri. So at the time we lived about 3 hours away. We've since moved here because now we're just all in. But
nice.
Yeah, we looked at Branson. We had visited here before. We knew that it was a vacation market. And, at that time, Smokies were huge and everybody was talking about the Smokies, but we really didn't want to dive into that competition that was there. And Branson was kind of honestly like a silent, gem that we found. And so we did some more research, and the first day that my husband came down to check out properties, our real estate agent showed us this property that we just fell in love with. It had so much potential. And again, interest rates were great. And that particular one, I think people just didn't see the value in it, or there was just so much else going on. But we got it for a really great price, and it's been our favorite property ever since.
Very cool. And so property management before, was it property management for long term or for short term or for both?
Yeah, it was, the property management that I was in?
Yeah.
That was long term. Yeah, that was a long-term property management. And that was, so short-term rental management was something completely new to me, and had to really piece everything together myself, and with the help of the internet and YouTube and all those things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because the long term is obviously very different. And you mentioned that you like the hospitality aspect of it. So is that something you just kind of naturally gravitated towards, the hospitality aspect?
Yeah, yeah. Yep, definitely. We thought, okay, well, I am such a people person. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love design. And so, yeah, it was completely new to us though in that aspect. And it is so different than long-term management. And since then we have acquired properties that we manage long-term, and it is again, hadn't done that in a long time. So it's a reminder, completely different. But there's benefits to both. And still, I think we'll always have that short-term rentals as part of our portfolio because there's a fun aspect to it too. So I really enjoy that.
Very cool. And so the first property you did and is more kind of geared around vacation rental. So folks that are going on vacation and holiday and stuff. How many bedrooms was the house, or how many bedrooms is it?
Yeah. So Branson, Missouri is very much like, it's a vacation destination. So Branson is a lot like the Smokies in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge. We've got all the same types of shows and attractions that they have, except instead of the mountains, we've got the Ozark Mountains. They're more like big hills, but we've got the lakes. So a lot of families, generational families, come to Branson. A lot of family reunions and get together. So yes, that's the market here. But the house that we found, it was actually a lake house. It's in in like a condo subdivision. So there's a few houses, there's condos, but they're zoned for nightly rentals, which is very important. As you know, when you get into a COA, that's usually a bad word. But in this case, in markets like ours, there's a lot of COAs that are nightly rental specific, and ours is, thankfully. So it was marketed as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. It was 3,000 square feet. It's got an unfinished basement that we still haven't tapped into that yet, but it's right on Lake Taneycomo, which is a beautiful fishing lake. And it has 4 bedrooms, or had 4 bedrooms and 3 baths, but they had not updated it in a long time. It was being used as a vacation rental, but they had basically just thrown in, your basic old school furniture, hadn't updated it in a long time. And there was a full bedroom that they were using as like a linen closet or clean, owner's closet that just had a whole bunch of stuff in it. And so we cleaned that out. We remodeled the whole thing, but we took that room and turned it into a king size bedroom. King size bed, closet. It's got a walkout patio. So we turned it into a 5-bedroom, and yeah, it's doing great. We love it.
So what's the nightly rate average on that property?
Oh gosh, the ADR on that is probably around, I'd say, well, it really does fluctuate here. In June and July, it's renting for $650 to $800 a night, depending on the night. In our dead season, which is January, February, it's renting for like $285 to $325, somewhere around there.
Yeah, we have properties on Lake Lanier, and it's very similar. Those numbers are very similar to what we experience, and so it's kind of tough when you have a property that can, during the peak season, potentially get $1,200 a night, or $900 to $1,200 a night. And then during the slow time, you're reduced down to like $225. It's like one extreme to the next. So I can totally relate to that. So it's on the lake, and does it have amenities like a hot tub and stuff like that, or what's the layout?
So it has a community pool and hot tub, and then it also has a fishing dock. So this particular lake is not so much a swimming lake because it is a cold water lake. The water from that lake flows out of the bottom of the dam, so it stays about 60 something degrees year round. But it's beautiful. And honestly, people think that maybe that's a detraction, that you can't necessarily swim in it, or most people don't. Kids will, they're crazy. They'll just jump in anyways. But most of the people don't want to swim in it. It doesn't matter. People want to be able to walk out and watch the blue herons swimming over the lake, and the ducks and the geese and all that. And they just want the views for the most part. So that's honestly not been a detraction we've seen at all.
Okay, cool. And just as a comparison, so one of our recent rehab projects that we did on Lake Lanier, the total after repair value is around 1.5 million. We purchased for 800 and put 200 into the rehab. Just as a comparison, what were your numbers on that first property?
Yeah. So we purchased that in January of 2022 for 425. And it's right now, I think it's probably valued around 750.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how much did you do for the remodel?
We put about 55,000 into it,
Okay.
between furnishings and, new paint, new flooring in some of the spaces, all that. We did a lot of the work ourselves for that first one. We don't do that so much anymore, but it was a great way to put that sweat equity in. We're proud of what we did. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my wife's in our business too. And our first rehab that we did, we basically we did it on the weekends. We've got 3 boys and we, dragged them along and they helped us with it. So yeah, no, it's a great way to get the inner workings of everything.
Yeah.
That first property, you had it up and running, everything's going great. And then what was next?
So before we even went live on that, because it took a few months to get ready, since we had to do so much to it. Before we went live on that, we actually purchased our second one. So we purchased a 2-bedroom, 2-bath here, a condo here in Branson, and that needed pretty much complete renovation as well. And then from there, shortly after that, actually last year, we closed on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo that's right next to our lake house. It's in the same subdivision or same complex. And that one we brought in a partner on. And it was one of those situations where we had a family member reach out and they went, "Hey, I see what you guys are doing. And I want to invest in real estate, but I have a full-time job, W-2, and I like what I'm doing. I just want to invest my money. How can you help me do that?" And so we were like, okay, well, you want to bring the money, we'll find the deal, we'll manage it, we will furnish it. And we were able to do that. They were building a new condo building right next to us. And so we purchased the top floor unit there. And so now we have a penthouse condo overlooking the lake as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And you guys are doing...
Oh, say that one more time. You cut out.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Full time?
We do this full time. Yep. This is all we do.
And how do you guys divide and conquer? Because, my wife handles all of our staging and she manages the cleaning operation, which I tell everybody is the heavy lifting. And, I kind of source the deals and do all the technology. So do you guys divide and conquer, or is everybody doing a little bit of everything?
Oh, no, it is very much, we have our own lanes. It's very clear on our roles and responsibilities. And that's so important, right? Especially in your relationships and your marriage, you want to be really clear on who does what. We've worked together for 16 years. So it was almost natural when we got into real estate, knowing who was going to be responsible for what. We just know each other so well already. But yeah, he does, all the underwriting, all the working with lenders and partners and figuring those things out. He'll sit in front of a spreadsheet and geek out, and I'm so happy that he loves that. And me, on the other hand, I love the management when it comes to managing the properties, working with guests, cleaners, all that stuff. So now we have a team of VAs, and that's my responsibility to kind of manage our team and the properties themselves. He's the one that is, again, trying to find the next deal, sourcing the next deal, underwriting, and doing those types of things.
Very cool. And then you mentioned also are starting to look at as well.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe my connection here today. So you getting an RV park set up and started?
Yeah, so we found an abandoned campground here in Branson, Missouri, and we're lifelong campers. So we loved the idea of having a campground. Actually, going back, the very first property we ever put an offer in on was a campground in Florida. The numbers didn't work, or they disclosed some information that made the numbers not work. So we're grateful that didn't happen. But yeah, we had always wanted a campground, and our real estate agent told us about an abandoned campground that had been here in Branson for a while. So we looked at it and saw the potential and saw the vision. and brought in some partners on that and closed on that, the land, and then worked through an SBA loan, which is a lot of work, and it is a lot of time and a lot of hoops to jump through, but we fortunately got through that, and we are about 2 months away from that being opened. So it's 13 acres here in Branson. When I say abandoned campground, it was, for all intents and purposes, it was a empty lot of land because there was nothing really left of the campground, and we had to put in all new utilities, all new, road work, and all new sites, everything. So nothing what there was usable except for the trees that were there, and they were beautiful, and we were really happy to have a lot of trees. So we have 50 full hookup sites, 17 glamping sites, and our glamping tents are not just your basic glamping tents. We have some that are our treehouse tents are up on raised decks overlooking the golf course next door. They're going to have private hot tubs underneath of them because they're raised up 10 feet off the ground. They have bathrooms. Each one of them has bathrooms inside of them. And then we've got cabins as well. And we're going to have like a big camp store, coffee shop. There's a rooftop deck that we've got a shipping container that's next to the pool. It's got a really cool mural on it, rooftop deck, a swimming pool, pickleball court, dog park. So we're really trying to create an experience, something. I keep saying it's not your grandpa's campground here, in Branson. We're in the Ozarks, and a lot of the older parks here, they've got, they're smaller sites. Unfortunately, they were built before, you've got these huge rigs with double slide outs, 40 something feet long. And so fortunately, this was a very level site, and we're able to accommodate those larger RVs as well. So
that's awesome. So 50. So there's 50 spots for 50 RVs separately from the.
Yeah. So there's 67 sites total, 50 RV sites, and 17 glamping sites.
And so is your plan to basically rent the RV spot for each? Someone brings their own RV, and then they kind of pay a nightly rate. Is that how it works?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
What's the nightly rate on the spot?
On the RV sites, they're probably anywhere from $60 to $80 a night, just depending on seasons, depending on the site. We've got pull-through sites. Those are a little more desirable, a little easier to get in and out of. So those are kind of our more premium sites. Yeah.
Very cool. And then the luxury tents and the glamping, my wife, well, for some of the projects we were looking at here in North Georgia. And so that, how did you go about figuring out, maybe you're still in the process of doing this, but how do you figure out what design? I mean, there's so many different options to choose from. How did you arrive at the one that you guys are going to go with? What was that process like?
Really, we worked with the land, and, so the back half of the property was really wooded still. The front half had been cleared. A lot of it had been cleared, still had a lot of trees, but you could see that's where the RV sites were at one point. And the back half of the property was still very wooded. And so when we looked at it, we said, this has to be, the glamping tents have to go here because we don't want to lose any of these trees. And so we started thinking about the different types of, tents that we could have. And we landed on a few different types. So we've got some bell tents, which we've got 5 of those. Those don't have bathrooms in them. They're going to be maybe a little bit more of a standard tent. They're still going to have a king size bed and luxury linens and all that, but they don't have bathrooms. We have a bathhouse as well with bathroom suites, but for those guests. And then the rest of the tents, we decided to go with a safari style tent, just because I feel like it was, it just worked with the land. I don't know. That was the look that we thought that would work best for us, and the look that we were going for, just our branding and kind of just the feel of the whole thing. We wanted everything to kind of be cohesive and work together. So we picked out two different sizes of the safari style tents. One is more of a family size. It's going to have a bunk bed and then a queen size bed. And the other ones are really geared more towards couples. So it's going to be a king size bed. There is a trundle bed with 2 twins in like this little back room, but it's really more geared towards couples that are coming because we saw the need for that. And that was another thing we really thought about. we looked at the land and what worked best there, but we also looked at our market and said, we see all these people in the Facebook group saying, where can we find a 1-bedroom with a hot tub, private hot tub? There is not very many 1-bedrooms with private hot tubs because there's a lot of condos here in Branson. And there's community hot tubs, but you don't have 1-bedrooms with private hot tubs. And so to be able to provide a 1-bedroom, essentially, a glamping tent overlooking the golf course with a nice big front porch, watching the sunrise, and then you've got a private hot tub underneath, this covered deck under the tent. That's, I think, going to work out really well, and something that, again, we saw that need, so we wanted to fill it.
Very cool. So what change on the nightly rate for the luxury tents?
Yeah, there's another glamping. So Johnny Morris, he is the owner and creator of Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, and he has a lot of properties here. And he's got a glamping resort a little bit south of us here on the lake, and his tents go for $400 to $600 a night in the summer times, and we're looking at probably really comparable to that in the higher end, in the high season for those. Yeah, very
nice. How pricey are the hot tubs that you're going with? Are they just 2-person? Are you getting them brand new? Are you getting used? How's that looking?
No, we're getting new, but we're going for, because they're outdoor and they're literally surrounded by like rocks and all that stuff, we wanted some more rugged hot tubs. And again, we could go smaller because there's essentially going to be for 2 people. They are technically 4-person hot tubs, but like you have to be really close with those people if you got 4 people getting in that hot tub. So we're going to call them 4-person, but they're really 2-person hot tubs. They were only a few. I think they were like 3,500, something like that. We weren't going super fancy with the hot tubs. It was more of, again, creating that experience. People don't necessarily want all the bells and whistles with a hot tub. They just want a private hot tub. And so again, looking at our budget, making sure that we were able to provide that amenity and provide it for more people, we went with a little bit, again, didn't go for all the bells and whistles, but we are kind of custom building them into the area. So we're going to have privacy walls around that so that, you don't have people just walking by while you're hanging out in your hot tub. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a private patio area underneath that. Very nice.
Very nice. The tent sizes, but what's the average cost on the
Yeah, average cost on the tents. The bell tents are way less, but we didn't have to build a raised deck on those either. So the bell tents are around $2,000, $2,200, somewhere in that range. And those are huge, though. They're really big. And then the other tents, they are anywhere from 16 to 20,000, I believe, somewhere in that range. Yeah,
that's extremely reasonable.
Yeah, well, that's unfinished though. So that's the tent cost itself. But we're finishing out. We're putting the bathrooms in them, and all that. So again,
and you're going to have heat and AC as well.
Yes, split systems in all of them. Yeah.
Awesome. So your all-in cost after you've got it like fully up and running, staged and everything is going to be about how much on the tent?
I think, well, on the treehouse tents, which again, building a raised deck and the lumber and time, that's included in that is quite a bit more. So on those, I think that the price was somewhere around 55 to 60,000, all in with furnishings and labor and all that as well.
Well, considering what your nightly rate's going to be, pretty reasonable cost, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, and then, another thing to consider when you're looking at something like a glamping resort or, a campground of any kind is the additional streams of income that you have. So you're not just getting your nightly rates, you're getting, your income from the camp store, because we're going to have a big camp store that's essentially a little shop where you can buy your beer, wine, ice cream, all your essentials and food. We've got a pizza kitchen going in there. We've got a coffee shop. So, it's a full-fledged business, that we're building. Campfire, wood, firewood, that's another stream of income.
Oh yeah.
The laundry facility, because we're going to have credit card machine operated stackable washers and dryers for our guests. So that's another stream of income. Ice, and we are going to do golf cart rentals. So all those things, it's an extra amenities for our guests that are creating, a better experience for them. Also better marketing for us because, more people are going to want to come because there's just more to do.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And what the campsite going to be?
What's that?
Do you have the name already picked?
Yes. The Embers is what it's called. The Embers Glamping and RV Resort. Our website is theembersbranson.com, and that right now, up until I think hopefully next week, we'll have our bookings actually available and open to start booking. But as of right now, it's just kind of a landing page that gives a little bit of information and is able, people are able to put their email in if they want to book, and they want us to notify them once our bookings are open. So real soon.
That's awesome. What's the timeline live?
So our goal is August, and it hopefully early August. It might be later in August. We're obviously with something this big, we're at the mercy of weather and contractors and all that. So August is our goal for opening. We'll probably open our bookings, our calendar for October and on, and then back that up as soon as we know, once we get closer to the openings. But and this project itself from the start of, breaking ground and starting it has been less than a year so far. We started, I believe, in October, somewhere around there, when they started actually working on digging trenches for the utilities and all that. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, Neil, I'd love to have you back on so we can kind of see how everything looks.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, cool. And so now that you've got kind of that project in the works, what's your goals going forward? Are you going to be adding more sites, or what's your big picture next couple of years kind of plans to grow?
So our goal is actually to acquire one property a quarter. But when we say property, we're looking more at more campgrounds, RV parks, mobile home parks. So they could be long-term or short, vacation, short-term parks. That's kind of what we're looking at. Kind of, we're in that phase of we're just ready to go big, and we've kind of created these systems and processes to do something like this, and we'd love to do that again. So I don't know if we're ready to turn around and develop a whole glamping resort again, next quarter. But as far as acquiring existing parks, that's something that we're looking to do. Yeah. Very
nice, very nice. And so I'm going to ask what was the cost of the land and the old campground?
It was 1.2 million, the purchase price. Mm-hmm. All in after with the SBA loan itself and everything. I think we're at around 5.5 million, and that's with all the SBA fees and all that tied in. So we're actually, thankfully, because my husband again is super underwriter, we're actually under budget at this point, which is really exciting to be able to say. So hopefully it'll be less than that when we're all said and done. But we've also added a lot more amenities than we initially thought we were planning to, because our budget we've been under budget. So we've been able to add some things. We weren't adding those private hot tubs initially. And then it was, well, maybe we'll do 3. And then we're no, we're going to do all 5. And then we're going to add a pickleball court. And then we were maybe we shouldn't. And no, we're definitely adding a pickleball court. Now we're adding a dog park. So, yeah, our numbers that we had for, projections on income are looking even better because we've been able to stay within that budget and add on even more amenities. So
love it. That's awesome. Yeah, and hot tubs are more revenue for you just right out of the gate, right? So that makes perfect sense. And if you're filling a need that doesn't exist in that market, that's even bigger.
For sure.
So
yeah,
makes total sense. All right, cool. So if there's one thing, knowing what you know now, having done this, to tell somebody that's just getting started, what one piece of advice would you give them for short-term rentals?
Yeah. I think that mindset is huge, right? I mean, and I used to be the brakes in the relationship, and my husband was the gas, and I was the brakes. And it was always like, oh, I'm not quite ready yet. I don't have all the answers yet. I need to know all the answers. And so I think, the thing that I constantly preach to people is you don't have to know all 10 steps to get, so do it now. Like, figure out the first 3 steps and then know what your tools and your resources are in order to get the rest of your answers, right? Like, you don't need to know how to run a short-term rental from beginning to end in order to start underwriting and putting offers in, because you're not going to know. And even if you think you're not really going to know. And the best way to learn is by doing it, right? And so, you've got your tools and your resources. You have your community. You've got, so many other things that and people to reach out to ask those questions. So you don't have to know all the answers before you start. I wish I would have known that earlier.
For anything real estate related, you can definitely get into, study mode and
Yes.
education mode before you actually pull the trigger and execute. So that's definitely a good point worth taking for sure.
Yeah.
So Heather, thank you so much for taking the time today. Really, really glad you were able to jump on, and I'm definitely going to take you up on getting you back. So we'd love to see the results of the glamping and RV resort. That sounds really, 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 really cool. It sounds like it's going to be really nice. And we'd love to kind of check it out after it's a finished product.
Come on down or over. Where are you at, Rich? I don't even know.
I'm based in Beaufort, Georgia. So
Okay.
we're about 45 minutes north of Atlanta.
Okay.
And so we've got properties all through the Atlanta metro, but we do have about 4 different lake house properties on Lake Lanier as well,
Awesome.
that are similar to what you're doing in Branson. So
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
You're not too far. You're a day's drive, less than a day's drive over.
Well,
So.
maybe we'll do the next podcast in person then, right?
Perfect.
My wife and I will stay at one of the glamping tents.
I'd love it. That'd be great. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So thanks everybody for jumping on this week. Thanks again, Heather. Just a reminder, guys, if you are interested in learning how to scale your short-term rental business and want to check in with me to see if what we have with our program fits for you or not, feel free to reach out with me on Facebook Messenger. We'll have a quick conversation about it. But until then, we'll see everybody next week. Thanks again, Heather. We'll talk to you very soon. All right.
All right.